Thank you for turning to page 121. And thank you for joining me for a look at Dragon issue number 100 from 40 years ago today, or 40 years ago this month, not today. This guy was out in August of 1985. So it was $3.95, up from their normal $3. So we paid an extra 95 cents for this jumbo-sized issue. But we got better covers. This is actually a very thick cover, almost a cardboard. And this was the first of the Covers Aren't Falling Off magazines. I have 2 or 3 copies of this, and I know this one's dinged. I don't know if this is my original or not. We look inside. We see an ad for White Dwarf. White Dwarf at the time was published by Games Workshop, but it was a lot of D&D in there. And Traveller, Warhammer was just starting up. And it was from Great Britain. I have a few copies of the old White Dwarf lying around. Iron Crown Enterprises Incorporated presents 2 new glimpses in the fantasy world of J.R.R. Tolkien. And they are Eric and the Paths of the Dead and Goblin Gate and Eagle's Eyrie. Iron Crown Enterprises out of Charlottesville, Virginia. Iron Crown Enterprises is back. I saw them at Gen Con. It's kind of neat to see them again. So we get a nice look at special attractions, the table of contents here, and about the cover, and then letters to the editor, and then an editorial. Memories are made of this, so a little reminiscing because it's been 100 issues. And then finishing out the letters to the editor and the editorial, we get a look at King Arthur Pendragon, chivalric role-playing in Arthur's Britain. And this was from the creators of RuneQuest, RingWorld, Call of Cthulhu, from Chaosium Incorporated in Albany, California. Saw them at Gen Con as well. Don't know if it's the same Chaosium or not. Score 1 for Saber Attack. New sport combines targets with teamwork. So you go ahead and you sword fight and you've got little targets on you and they can tell if you've been hit. Little LARP, live action roleplay. Fantasy News Flash. There are 39 great new models with 100 fantastic characters from the Duncan Company in Calvert, Texas. Privateers, a play-by-mail game putting you in the command of the 16th century sailing ship. This is from Tudor Games in Sarasota, Florida. All About the Druid Ranger, a classy explanation, better late than never. Druid Ranger is a multi-class that actually is very popular at my table because you don't see any drop-off for splitting your dice. The Druid and the Ranger both have 8-siders, so you don't see drop-off. You do in the first level because the Ranger gets 2 8-siders, but it's a nice class, and they complement each other beautifully. And we get a special introductory offer, 6 20-sided dice free. And we can send our check or money order to the supply company in Boston, Massachusetts. Then we get the forum, which is just kind of more letters to the editor. Relpartha Miniatures brings your monsters and player characters to life. Let's see if I've got any of these guys. I am not recognizing. I think I have that guy. And I think I have these 2 guys. Huh. Pages for the Mages 5. From Elminster to Ed to You by Ed Greenwood. Elminster would come and give Ed Greenwood all this intelligence, and Ed would write it down and submit it as an article for Dragon Magazine. I always appreciated that, Ed. And then we got an ad for Conan, the Hyborian War. And this was from, it's a play-by-mail? Yes, play-by-mail. Reality Simulations in Tempe, Arizona. Continuing on, Elminster's words to Ed Greenwood. Then we got an ad for Bushido, which is by Fantasy Games Unlimited out of Roslyn, New York. And another ad for the Nova books, a book versus book game. And McAfee's Dragon Riders of Perm, Come to Life. These guys were out of Manchester, Connecticut. Continuing on, Elminster was in a long-winded mood when he did this one. I always like getting new spells and such from Dragon Magazine, and especially 100th edition, 100th episode rather, 100th issue. I was very happy to see these. I used several of these. And then we got the Wizzy system, the Alti system from Nichols Services in Columbus, Georgia. This is also a play-by-mail? Or is it? Yes, it's on disc. It's computer moderated. One-on-one adventure game books from TSR. Battle for the Ancient Robot and Castle Arcania. One-on-one adventure paths. Continuing out, Elminster's long article. The party starts the minute you open the box. Spyrim, the newest idea for party fun. Party games were actually gaining in popularity. I had the Sherlock Holmes 221B Baker Street. I think that was it. I had one of those. And the party games were catching on. It's kind of funny because that seems to have kind of gone full circle again. And this is from TSR. Continuing our very long article from Elminster, we get a look at Villains and Vigilantes from Fantasy Games Unlimited, Roslyn, New York. And we get a nice look at Rolaids. We're the other company. Rolaids is Mayfair Games out of Chicago, Illinois. I had several Rolaid books. They were pretty good. They complemented AD&D very nicely. And then we got the thing that really got my interest in this. At Moonset, Black Cat Comes, A Tale of Gord of Greyhawk by Gary Gygax. This is the first time I ever heard of Gord of Greyhawk. Upon reading this and seeing that there was a novel for it, I immediately ran out to my local Walden Books, about 6 miles from my house, and I picked up the book. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I liked that I have this short story as well. And the artwork wasn't the greatest. That's Chert, Gord's buddy. I'm not really sure what's going on with his whole head there. But continuing out, very, very enjoyable story. And some more artwork. That's Gord dressed as a ninja. Kind of unintentional, but he looks like a ninja. And finishing out our short story. And then an ad from the dusty tomes of powerful sorcerers. It comes at last. Unearthed Arcana, new rules for the AD&D game. This was a very polarizing book. I wish it had been better edited and more playtesting, but I do love Unearthed Arcana, and it sees use at my table every single game. Dragon Chess by Gary Gygax. I did read some of this. It was beyond my interest, so I didn't really stay with it. Continuing on. Out of Legendary Mists of Time comes an adventure so incredible that one module wasn't enough to contain it. The Temple of Elemental Evil. T1 through 4. Really excited to get this guy. $15 for a 128-page super module. It was exciting. We only had seen T1 prior to this, the Village of Hamlet. We got the whole thing here. And then we have the Free City of Krakow for Twilight 2000 from Game Designers Workshop out of Bloomington, Illinois. The Armory, introducing the Armory's newest bonus pack dice. I believe the Armory was at Gen Con. Let's see how we do in Illinois with these guys. We have Granite City. I was never there. That's about 40 miles west of me. Mount Prospect Games Plus, of course. And that's it for Illinois. And are you missing a Dragon magazine in your lair? Here's your chance. Order them through TSR. The City Beyond the Gate. AD&D characters find themselves in the real world. An adventure for high-level AD&D characters. I actually had a GM run this, or DM run this. It was pretty good. I'm not a huge fan of anything that puts D&D characters into modern times. It's just a personal preference of mine. I don't play that, but I enjoyed this. This was a lot of fun. We had some silly encounters, and it was just kind of a let-your-hair-down game. It was about a 6-hour game, and the DM that ran it really was passionate about it, so it was fun. Continuing on, how magic works in the real world. See the air quotes? A couple of maps for it, and it continues on page 59. We had Advanced Dungeons & Dragons play-by-mail from, who are these guys? They are out of Charlotte, North Carolina, Entertainment Concepts Incorporated. Continuing on our modern day article, this is a poster map of an exciting new book. Above all, this is the cover of the first Gord the Rogue book. Obviously, I never pulled it out because I don't pull them out of my Dragon magazines. And then the Role Playing Gaming Association, RPGA Network from TSR. Wasn't a member then. I joined it briefly in around 2000 with the advent of AD&D 3rd edition. Continuing out our modern day AD&D adventure. And then we end up in a museum. Long, long articles in this issue, which I'm sure was intentional. They're doing page count on this one. They gave us more for our extra 95 cents, and it was worth it. And then we get to the Aries Science Fiction Gaming section. I have to admit, when I first picked this magazine up, I kind of thought with issue 100 that they might drop this. Here we have the original Guardians of the Galaxy. These are the Except for this guy, these are the first 4 of the Guardians of the Galaxy. Believe it or not, that's Yondu. If you're familiar with these guys only from the Marvel movies, you're kind of confused. And then we have our nice table of contents for Aries, as well as another editorial. Creative Conjuring, a variant magic system for the Marvel Superheroes game. Doctor Strange. Don't remember using any of this in Champions or anything. Champions Plus. New powers for Champions heroes. Yes, I jumped all over this article. This was a lot of fun. And then Some Refuse to Die in the Aftermath from Fantasy Games Unlimited, a big advertiser in Dragon Magazine. Continuing our Champions article, we go to the penultimate series. Mysteries are revealed in the 4th part of the Ultimate Fantasy Game, D&D Master Set. That's for basic D&D, Dungeons & Dragons, not advanced Dungeons & Dragons. Charisma Counts, a new charisma system for the Villains and Vigilantes game. I was not playing V&V anymore by this point. I was playing Champions. I remember glancing at that. Defenders of the Future, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Yeah, I liked this version of Guardians. Nothing against the guys in the movies or later comics, but these were my Guardians. And then we get the Defenders. The Defenders were kind of the non-team of Marvel. The idea was that they were not a formal team. They would just get together and battle things as needed. In the early days of the Defenders, your 3 primary members, founding members, were Doctor Strange, Submariner, and the Hulk. And then the Silver Surfer would pop in and help now and again in case the power level was just a little low. The Defenders were extremely powerful. So we got to look at some members of the Defender, Cloud, Valkyrie, and the Gargoyle. Free at Gen Con 18 convention, the box game, The Value of the Pharaohs. And this is from Palladium Books out of Detroit, Michigan. Yes, this issue came out right at the time of Gen Con in 1985, and I'm sure the TSR was happy that it coincided. I'm sure there was a little manipulation a few years, over the course of time to make sure this would come out in August, but it was great timing for it. Unearthed Arcana got released at the same time. Oriental Adventures got released right around that time. Temple of Elemental Evil. Big year. 85 was a big year for AD&D. The Chance of a Lifetime Battle System Project was a designer's dream by Doug Niles. Battle System First Edition, yeah, I had it. One other thing I want to say is I've groused before early in 1985 that there wasn't much AD&D content. There wasn't. They were kind of waiting for the summer for Gen Con to release a lot of it. The Companions present role-playing seminars at Gen Con Game Convention number 18 in 1985. I didn't get to go to that one. I've told the story many times before. I had to go out of town for work and I missed it. A lot of people from my gaming group went. And then we finish out the battle system. We continue the battle system, rather. Here's an ad for Battle System Fantasy from TSR. Time Master role-playing game. The Time Corp, it's not just a job, it's an adventure from Pace Setter out of Delavan, Wisconsin. Never played that game. Game Town, everything in games and puzzles out of San Diego, California. Chivalry and Sorcery and Daredevils, both from Fantasy Games Unlimited. Continuing out our article on Battle System. Kind of weird that Battle System was actually in the Aries section now that I think about it. Yeah, that's interesting. Citadel Miniatures is pleased to announce the release of Lord of the Rings gaming miniatures. I'd never had any of these guys. Games Workshop, Columbia, Maryland distributor. Registration by mail suggested to assure the best choice of gaming events in search of adventure at Gen Con 18. Register by mail. A little different now. Illuminati by Adventure Systems, Houston, Texas, Steve Jackson Games. Music for Adventure Gaming by Ramal Lamar from Lotus Records, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Continuing our Battle System Article 2. We finish out Battle System. We got a nice word look at Earthwood, Dawn of the Ancients out of Miami, Florida. Guidelines on how to submit your article to Dragon Magazine. Roll Your Own. This is the Rapham Company. More minis. Let's see if I have any of these guys. I do not. Rel Partha. From first draft to last gasp, wherein the editor gets the final word. And then Battle System stuff again. They were still really pushing Battle System. That had come out about a year earlier. I think it came out in 84. The choices are yours. The new Super Endless Quest books from TSR. And then continuing out our battle system article, we finish out our forum article as well. We have the Balboa Game Company, complete fantasy and wargaming lines. If you need it, they have it. They are out of Long Beach, California. Sky Realms of Jarun. This was Sky Realms Publishing, Berkeley, California. The Compressor, this is a crossword puzzle that was in here. I obviously didn't do it. I did look at a lot of the clues. I figured a lot of them out. We got to look at the World Gamers Guide, just in case you're going elsewhere. You can find out who's got the games. The Convention Calendar from 1985. You have to get in your Wayback Machine for that one. Strategy and Tactics. Ad. Was this Game Designers Workshop? Oh, it's a magazine. Pick up a new copy of Strategy and Tactics magazine. Yes, I want Strategy and Tactics delivered, and this was from Dragon Publishing in Chicago, Illinois. Yeah, owned by TSR, okay. The Gamer's Guide, Personal Ads for Gamers, completing out the letters section and the index to the advertisers, in case you need to go find an advertisement for some reason. And then finishing out our article there. And let's try that again. Some of you who bought our Best of the Dragon may have already realized that in addition to some pretty good articles, the book contains one of the best mistakes we've ever made. Incorrectly positioned on page 50. I don't have that particular one, number 4. And then we have an ad for Amazing Science Fiction Stories. This being published by TSR at the time. They were really trying to become a publishing house. The crossword answers. Wormy. I love Wormy. Dave Trampier. And then we have some Dragon Mirth. And then Snarf Quest. There we go. And then we have an ad for Paranoia, role-playing game of darkly humorous future from West End Games, New York, New York. Paranoia now being published by Mongoose, same folks that bring us Traveler. And Space Master, the challenge of the future awaits. You got Future Law and Space Master. Space Master was an interesting game. I love the universe. I love some of the back stuff on that. The actual game itself was slow and kind of hard to play. But there you have it. That's a look at Dragon issue 100, which for me at least most importantly gave me my first appearance of Gord the Rogue. I was so excited to read that particular story. I really enjoyed it. I love the Gord the Rogue series. If you follow my channel, you know that. But that's all I've got today on page 121. I want to thank you for your time. Thanks for watching. Happy 100 issue Dragon Magazine, August 1985. Let me know what you think. Were you buying Dragon at this time? Was this an issue you were excited about? Please take a look at the Patreon, see if you can help me out there. Leave comments, like, and subscribe if you enjoyed the video. Tell your friends. I'm still growing the channel. But that's all I've got today on page 121. Thank you for your time. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.